And welcome back to Daily Wrap. Well, the Obama administration is now acknowledging that its strategy to train and arm Syrian rebels to fight ISIS has been a failure.
We have been looking for now several weeks at ways to improve that program. I wasn't satisfied with the early efforts in that regard, and so we're looking at different ways to achieve basically the same kind of strategic objective.
Now, only a handful of rebels, we're talking the size of a basketball team with no medals, mind you, we're talking 5, went out into the battlefield at a cost of around $50 million. You could do the math on that one. That's far short of the thousands of rebel fighters the Pentagon was hoping to have battle-ready, which is much like shovel-ready, by the end of this year. Today, Defense Secretary, you just saw him, that's Ash Carter, said the U.S. will instead identify leaders in the region and provide their forces with arms and other support. Couple of questions here. The first one to you, John Fund. Is Vladimir Putin now the leader of all military exercises in the free world, given that he's taken an initiative here in Syria and actually pushed basically the fighters that we were training there out?
In foreign policy, the worst mistake you can possibly make is to become a laughingstock. And I'm afraid, unfairly, that Vladimir Putin believes Barack Obama is a laughingstock. Ever since the red line was drawn in Syria and Obama flinched and didn't go across it.
You say unfairly, though.
Well, look, I think Obama's foreign policy has been haphazard and feckless, but I mean, he is the President of the United States, and he certainly has sincere beliefs in trying to bring peace to the Middle East. But no one takes him seriously anymore. That's the worst position you can be in.
I think that's a really big judgment call to make. I think a lot of people take
That Putin isn't laughing at Barack Obama? No, I think that's obvious.
Sure, I think the world. No, that nobody takes President Obama seriously anymore.
In the Middle East?
No, absolutely.
Name one. Name one.
Jordan.
No.
Jordan, absolutely, and Jordan's a very valuable player. You don't think so at all?
The king there has basically called out to all of the fellow diplomats there and said, I believe that if the United States saw a revolution in my country, I could not count on them, and I'm making contingency plans to have no U.S. support.
So he says to his people. So
he doesn't believe the United States can support him anymore.
No, I like grades. Just give me a grade on Obama's foreign policy, A through F.
B.
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 Why B?
Solid B. I think that the situation he was handed, I mean, this is undisputable, the situation he was handed was incredibly complicated.
The stable Iraq situation?
From the fact that he entered office at a time when the American people, and don't forget, he has to answer to the American people for funding, he has to go to Congress for funding, to increase troops, to extend the deadline past 2011. You know, in 2011, ISIS didn't exist. In 2011, Putin may have been,
you think they may have come about when we kind of left a vacuum there and pulled everybody out?
I understand that, and that's a fair argument. But if you go back into 2011, no one could have ever anticipated that. Also, there was Congress would have never voted to increase funding to go back into Iraq or to continue to send troops. Don't forget, there are still black ops there. There are still private military forces there. You know, there's still...
Actually, the Congress elected after November 2010, a Republican House and a closely divided Senate would, of course, supported that kind of funding.
Yes. And President Obama spent more
2010.
in one day of the stimulus than was spent in Iraq in a decade, in 10 years. But I will tell you, it's interesting you bring up Jordan, because the Jordanian president was the one who ordered airstrikes after his pilot was put on fire in a cage.
To ISIS, because he doesn't have international law, United States law, human rights law to abide by. He doesn't.
Oh, like droning? Like we're droning people,
I
American
agree with you.
citizens,
I think droning,
with President Obama behind the hit list?
Listen,
with no constitutional rights for the people who are being droned?
I absolutely agree with you on this. But we are not Jordan, and you can't sit here and say that our standards are. It was an example of someone who speaks to his audience the way that the Iranian dictator speaks to his audience, the way that Benjamin Netanyahu speaks to his audience.
No, he took action. America is in retreat.
What do you expect? Okay, so what's your solution? This is my question for you. What is your solution to the Syrian crisis? To bomb Russia?
Obviously not. We don't want to start another war with Russia. We want to make sure that we do not have the Cold War reinvigorated. But it is such a mess now that it's not going to be under President Obama's watch. He is completely compromised. Putin has no respect for him. We need a president, left or right. Doesn't matter if it's left or right, but who can come up and go toe-to-toe with Putin.
I have one solution for you, okay? And we have to go to a fictional television show, of course. On Showtime. But if we listen to CIA agent, his name is Peter Quinn, Black Ops, from the hit Showtime series Homeland, he's onto something. In this clip, he's asked what he would do to turn things around against ISIS.
200,000 American troops on the ground indefinitely to provide security and support for an equal number of doctors and elementary school teachers.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Then I better get back there.
What else? What else would make a difference?
Hit reset.
Meaning what?
Meaning pound Raqqa into a parking lot.
I think he means nuke them and just blow everything away, and then this way the problem's solved. So that's
nice.
probably not a solution, but we just need an excuse to show Homeland, which is pretty good this year. Anyway, share your thoughts on the Syrian training program failure by going to newsmaxtv.com/comments. And coming up next, we're going to talk to the Senior Vice President of Wealth Management at UBS about saving money for once in this country.